All right, guys, so you're out looking at property and you fall in love with a house and you get under contract. Congratulations. Now it's home inspection time. And what is that? What can you do before the inspection or before you even go under contract? Just some things to keep an eye on to make sure it is the right house to purchase. First off, here in the state of Maine, every property should have a property disclosure there. It's like a 7-page document of a lot of things that like the seller should know. If somebody's been living there for a while, they should supply you with a lot of known things, like how old's the roof, has there been any water in the basement, stuff like that. And I highly recommend taking your time to review those disclosures so you're aware of everything that the property might have wrong with it before you even walk up to it. While you're there, I always recommend kind of look for big stuff, something that's really wrong with the house. If the disclosures say the roof's only like 5-10 years old or whatever, when you get there, make sure you peek up at it, make sure that's accurate and it looks about that. Take a look at like the plumbing and stuff, whatever the disclosures say about like the plumbing or the heating system, verify all that stuff. Maybe if you see any cracks in the drywall, not that cracks in drywall are a huge deal, but they can be if it's like been too much settling or anything like that. Little things like that. If the windows and doors need to be replaced, that's a big expense. Some things that you can kind of look at and account for. But again, all those things, are just to kind of make sure that it's a property that's going to work for you before going through the motions of going under contract and all that. Once you do get under contract, then it's home inspection time. And this is the time that you're supposed to look at the house. If there's anything wrong with the house, but there's a lot more to look at as well. So the inspector, and we highly recommend hiring a professional inspector to go through the house. If nothing else, if they don't find anything, if nothing else, they're going to give you a big to-do list of just like a bunch of little stuff. Again, the big things that you're going to look at is the inspector will look at the roof, they'll look at the plumbing, look at the heating system, the sewage, they'll do water tests, radon air test, radon water test. If you want to do a lead test, a mold test, you can do all sorts of testing. We typically recommend doing like a general building inspection, and if the inspector flags anything like says, hey, we might want to look into this further, then you can add on those tests. And most inspectors will tell you up front that the inspection report is going to have a lot of stuff on it. Could be a lot of like little tiny stuff. Every house has little tiny stuff. So one thing outside of like just checking out the house is what we call a public record check, and we do it for all our clients. You go to town hall and you check the code enforcement folder. You can also check to make sure taxes have been paid, do any kind of digging that you can at town hall. Look through the code file and see if there's any red flags. Hey, there was a dispute with a neighbor because the garage might be on your property. We found an underground storage tank and it wasn't listed on the disclosures. There's a whole lot of things that could raise a red flag. Permits, you can look for those to make sure any permits were pulled for like finished basements, additions, things like that. Any kind of plumbing work that you know of to make sure it was permitted properly. We highly recommend doing that and really checking the town office to make sure that it's good. Some other things like when you're at the house, check the noise and like the neighbors and keep an eye on the neighborhood and just, make sure that it's a neighborhood that's going to fit. This might be your last chance to really kind of make that final decision. So make sure the location is what you want. You just want to be mindful of what's next to you and what's around in the neighborhood. The other thing that actually comes up a lot for us is like utilities and amenities. We get a lot of people that say, hey, what's the internet connection like? What's the cell service like? Double check like how close things are. Like if you need to be close to, hospitals or any kind of medical facilities, if you need to be close to groceries, check all those things. This is your time to do that. You can also make a last check at like your resale, potential. Make sure that, you're buying a good investment. When you're financing a property, they're going to do an appraisal and you have that to fall back on. But if you're paying cash, you don't have that. So maybe it's kind of one last time to just double check everything. Make sure you're checking everything you could possibly think of around the house. That's the general rule of thumb. It's like during your inspection or your due diligence period, this is the time to take a look at everything and make sure it's the house for you. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, comment below, let us know. We're happy to help at any time. And remember, if you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and one of these buttons over here. You get a lot of great information about real estate, the state of Maine, cool things to do, all that kind of stuff. And of course, if you have any questions at any time, comment below or hit us up on all social media platforms and we'd love to help you out. And we love talking about Maine and real estate in Maine.